Well, happy Tuesday evening to everyone. We're 15 minutes away from the top of the hour at 6 o'clock. A very special show tonight for you here on this Tuesday of Let's Talk Oconee. And tonight is the Oconee County Council meeting. And some big things coming up tonight as the auditor, Christy Hubbard, makes her trek to council chambers tonight to discuss what is potentially coming for the budget and the millage. And we'll have that coming up for you here at 6 p.m. Randy, good evening to you. Chris, good evening to you as well.
Hello.
And as we start the show tonight, Randy, you've got something over there you want to tell everyone about?
Yeah, hey, today's a pretty good day. A lot of celebrations and stuff going on. Come down the mountain earlier. First place I stopped, though, was Alexander's Wonderworks. And
is that somebody at the door?
No, that's the clock going on.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
The cops ain't coming.
Okay, good. Not yet.
I stopped there at Alexander's Wonderworks in Walhalla, and I went in. I was going to mail my AT&T package back. It said just go to any FedEx place and they'd mail it. Well, it turns out that you got to go to a bigger one. But anyway,
we only have 15 minutes.
While I was in there, I got into the back and I got me a strawberry lemonade. And I tell you what, the lady that made it was great. The lemonade was great. Josh's company was even better. So I just want to give him a shout out.
I had the pumpkin spice latte about a week ago up there, and it was out of this world.
Well, I tell you, I don't do lattes or lattes or any of them other things. I like my coffee black. That's how I like it.
Yeah, I like mine with a little cream and Splenda.
But then later on, I went down to the bank and I cashed my child support check. I tell you what.
I do want you to talk about that, and I think this is time for you to get it all out and tell you what you really think.
So anyhow, went in there and deposited that check. Thought I'd celebrate, so I went over to Aldi and I bought all this stuff here. It's one of them adult Lunchables, a Chattahoochee board or whatever.
Charcuterie board.
We'll put it up there with
That's
the
a housewarming
Candelia
gift.
Labras. But after that, I went over and I had I had a hamburger and some wings at Southern Steakhouse. Got their menu here. Anybody wants to see it. What was real surprising is between now and October 6th, for lunch, 11 to 2:30, 30% off of their menu. And they got wings, real good, nice big wings, 12 for $8.
Okay, so is that 12 wings or 6 wings cut in half, counting as 12?
Look, this is 2023, Chris. The wings are the wings, and everybody knows wings are both drumettes and flats.
And they're good stuff.
And the honey habanero, the sweet habanero ones they had were phenomenal.
Was great.
And if you go in there and you tell them that Chris needs less airtime, they'll give you an additional 1% off.
You know what? That is not true. I called and I said, I am Chris, and I'll take my 1%. She said, I don't know about that. I said, well, that's okay because I'm going to be there with my 30%. So let's talk about this check. And what these guys said.
So disingenuous David and
Nix. Let's make sure you get the last name.
Well, hell, about all of them.
Well, yeah, but that's Nix. That works for Duke. That one.
Yep, that one. All right, and then Perry Smells Bad Smith. Both of them.
Plastic Amanam or something like that.
They have been on a campaign since early August to disparage me for being a deadbeat dad.
Yep.
And I haven't said anything. And,
no, you've been good. I was embarrassed for you.
So what happened is my daughter moved up here in May of last year, 2022, after she had some traumatic trouble. We don't want to talk about that. It's none of nobody's business but hers. And she said she just didn't want to live in Texas anymore. So I brought her up to the house. She's 17 years old. I filed for a modification for child support because she's living with me. The government takes its time. They don't do anything fast. And while that modification was going on, the struggle between me and her mother, she turned 18. And during the modification process, because her mother wouldn't respond to anything from the court, the state of Texas turned off her child support. Not me, her. Mm-hmm. And I was continuing to pay what I was supposed to. And when my daughter turned 18, that triggered an audit in the system. Well, the system decided that because Mama hadn't received any checks from the state that I must be behind. However, the state of Texas was holding the money I was sending them and not giving it to her in order to convince her to come to the modification agreement. Not my fault. It was the state of Texas' fault. Well, that triggered the summons, and they said that I owed money, and they put a lien on my house and all kind of garbage. But when we finally got a court date and we went in there, I walked out with my money back for the time that my daughter was here. I was not in arrears. The state had the money, not me. And these folks, these disingenuous, David and Perry, they want to find anything they can on anybody that opposes what they are doing.
And try to destroy it.
And they try to destroy them at all costs. And I'm telling you, don't let them do it to you. Just stand up for yourself, fight back, give them no reason whatsoever to dig any deeper. So I'm real happy that I got the check today. Woo! I got it yesterday. And I took it to the bank, and it went through, so it was legitimate.
You should be. I mean, they started this campaign against you in about August, and it's kept going on and on and on.
But the thing about it is,
your children had to read it.
Right, yeah. My children saw it, and they're like, but they know better, right?
Yeah,
they knew better because they know what the situation is.
It still hurts.
But but what they would say is, why is that guy so miserable that all he wants to focus on is what's going on with you? And I you know what? Only thing I can figure is his life is just completely mediocre.
Well, it's the same thing that David McMahon, the non-associate, and
they're so untraveled, so uneducated, so uncouth, so deplorable in every aspect. I mean, these folks have never left the county, never been anywhere, never done anything really cool in life, and then you find somebody that has, and all they want to do is try to disparage you.
Mm-hmm. So why do they, the question is, why do they feel so free to do that? I have an inkling, I know what it is.
What is it?
It is because what they've got now is they have an LLC, limited liability, okay? Mm-hmm. And they're saying, ooh, so I can attack good people. I've seen Randy with every one of his children. I have never seen a better father than Randy. And listen, this guy sits around and he acts like it doesn't bother him. That would hurt any father and why anybody would want to do that, to be that cruel. But anyways, they're a limited liability corporation. But what they don't understand, they're not speaking for the limited liability. They're speaking for themselves, which is outside. The limited liability doesn't protect them. Now, whoever told them that is full of crap. So I don't know what you're going to do.
I want to say this.
Go
seriously.
ahead, but you ought to take they got money.
It doesn't matter anymore. You were able to prove, but without a shadow of a doubt, you stood up. You took the high road. You did. You didn't get on there and start attacking. You took the high road, and you had your last say with this whole thing. And again, this is just what they do. This is how they act. And at the end of the day, you can sleep well at night.
And you know what? I didn't lose a minute's sleep the whole time because I knew what the truth was. They lost a lot of sleep. They're losing sleep right now.
Yeah, but why?
Because why
would people support that?
What's that?
Why would people think that's funny and pile on? I've seen the polls.
But there's not that many that you got to understand. I mean,
there's what kind of people would do that?
Deplorable people.
Right.
Deplorable people.
Yeah, but they're worse
and
than that.
I want to say thanks to Luke and Jennifer.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've come out and they've really supported me, and they've been supportive the whole time. But they went ahead and published all the folks that liked that or laughed at it.
Yeah.
And, I know those folks. And they are just like Perry.
Well,
every one of them
they're
are.
a minority.
So, but I'm saying they're the kind of people they are. They're in the same boat. And like I said last week, these folks are going to continue to identify themselves.
Yep.
And continue to identify themselves. And they're going to cancel their own self.
Okay. All right. We're about 5 minutes away from the start tonight of the Oconee County Council meeting. I want to bring our other partner on. Kathy has now joined us. Kathy, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Hey, Kathy.
It's glad to have you with us here. I hate that you're not in studio with us here at the Global Elitist Compound because we have all sorts of food here that we've even got champagne and
caviar.
We even got the Mexican version of Dono Wano over here. I don't know if you can see Dono Wano in the screen over here.
I see that.
Oh,
so
the rats are circling.
So, but I wanted to bring all this food and everything because this is exactly what my ex-wife did when she got her first child support check. She went out and got caviar and all this stuff and had a big old party.
We got sardines and Vienna sausages, baby.
I just wanted the world to see that I am petty, and I am on the other end of that, and here it is.
Well, you could prove that by leaving what's left behind as a housewarming gift.
Look, I got acacia honey, right? Acacia honey. That came from Mount Moriah in Jerusalem. And that's some of the best honey in the world, literally, hands down. And they sell it at Aldi, and it's $7 for this. So
is that better than yours?
You know, it's probably is. It's got a lot of nutrition facts on it, so it may not actually
Some
be
of those
honey.
uppity bees.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is elitist, especially elitist
Well,
honey.
that sounds to me like it belongs here.
Well, tonight we have Christy Hubbard coming to Oconee County tonight to deliver the potential of what's going to happen with the millage.
All right, I need 2 more minutes because I see that Joanna White is just tuned in.
All right,
and
you got to
watching.
hurry up.
And I got scolded this morning real bad
Yeah.
about talking about the SWAT team that's taking over the Stump House Tunnel.
Yeah.
I still don't think that the Stump House Tunnel needs a SWAT team or a guard with a gun. They need a pickup truck to take the trash off, and they need a guy that walks around and talks to people. But I just want to say to Joanna, I'm really sorry that you felt that I was talking about you. The park is very clean. It's very nice. The bathrooms over at Yellow Branch, you were correct. Whew, boy. And but then I just wanted to say that the Stump House only charges $5 per car, not $45 if you got a family of 12. So I just wanted to make that straight.
Listen.
You got misunderstood, really.
There's a lot of half cooked, half runners out there.
Well,
they didn't see that the sarcasm.
I'm actually thankful that Wahan was able to step up and take and get that and put it in within the park because there for a couple of years, I think it's like 10 or 15 years ago, there was a potential there was going to be a development. There was actually a development eyeing that whole piece of property up there.
It's good property.
Stump House?
Yeah, Stump House Tunnel was
Yes.
a part of that. There was a whole development that was looking at that to creating homes up on top of the mountain. And again, I think it was it the Conservatory of South Carolina that stepped in to help the city of Walhalla purchase that to keep it as a park?
And it's going on out there into some conservatorship or some preserve area, and they're going to have over 20 miles of bike trails, and the people coming from around the world to
Well, they're having
Walhalla.
the bike races and stuff too up there.
Yeah, and there's going to be so much, and then this Greenway thing. I want to say get onto this real quick. When I was over at the Yellow Branch, there was an elderly couple in a car from North Carolina, Doc Twitterman and his wife, and I couldn't turn around because they was parked right in the parking lot's real bad over there. Well, anyways, the lady's like, "Hey, I saw you over at the other side. Do you know anything about this?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Is there a waterfall down there?" I said, "Yeah, it's a long way down there." I said, "And y'all probably don't need to do it." I said, "Y'all should go over to Brasstown and look at the very first falls, and that'll be enough for y'all." But
All right, we're under 60 seconds
real
to the
quick.
start of the council meeting tonight. Go ahead.
real quick, the Greenway is needed for elderly folks like that.
Yeah,
to go
but
down
is it
and-
still on? Is it still on?
So if the Greenway
I
came
think
out
so.
of Walhalla and went up Lake Jamaica to the bottom of Yellow Branch, and then another Y went up to Issaquah Falls, that right there would make it so open for folks who have disabilities to get to see the beauty
that just
of our
sounds like
county.
common sense to me.
Oh, common sense.
Well, remember, we can't have foreign traditions or any green around
No,
here
no,
because
that's
that's a waste.
No tree huggers.
Mine is. I tell you what, there's a list of people joining. It's long, not very distinguished, but it's long. Man, alive. Woo.
Well, we're officially awaiting the start with the Oconee County Council, from Your Oconee, and the YouTube channel. And tonight, as we mentioned, Christy Hubbard is going to be presenting to the council, and we'll get to hear some of the public comments tonight. Can't wait to see some folks
So-
on camera.
When I was down there at that Southern Steakhouse earlier, I'd ordered a bacon cheeseburger, and about 5 minutes after I ordered it, this little girl, she comes out there and her lips quivering, and she said, "Sir, the cook said that there's an issue. We don't have the right bacon." I tell you what, have we ever heard that before?
I don't know, but ladies and gentlemen, we have a screen now, and we're going to be waiting. I'm not paying you any attention. Here we go with the Oconee County Council.
Time is 6 p.m., October 3rd, 2023. I call to order this regular meeting of the Oconee County Council.
Oh boy, this is going to be great.
Yep.
Let's begin with a moment of silence. Mr. David Root, would you lead us in prayer?
Yes, sir. Pray with me if you'd like to. Dearest Father, thank you for this day. I really pray that we haven't taken it for granted, but appreciated it for the gift that it is, that tomorrow is not promised to us, that therefore we should make the most of every opportunity we have. So I pray tonight that we'd make the most of it, that you'd give us guidance, you'd give council wisdom that would only come from you in making their decisions, in the discussions, and that you would preside over this meeting. Please create in us truly appreciative hearts, loving hearts for our neighbor and for you, guided by your love. And in your name I pray, amen.
Mr. Rick Bach, would you lead us in the pledge? Finals approval of minutes from September 19th, 2023, regular meeting.
Make a motion.
Motion? Second. Any discussion, any changes? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Okay, next we have county attorney comments, Mr. David Root.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one. I just wanted to note for the public's edification that Project Galt is indeed, as has been reported, the Books for Less project. We will have the ordinance and the multi-county park agreement updated for public hearing and third reading. The special source revenue credit agreement does carry the name of the actual company parties. And that's all I had.
Thank you, sir. All right, county administrator comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not have anything or an update this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Middle's presentation to council by Ms. Christy Herbert, Oconee County Auditor. Ms. Herbert.
Good evening, Chairman and other council members. How are y'all? As auditor, you all know that I am tasked with the responsibility of recommending millage for Oconee County. I will recommend an operational millage to you to be approved, and I will set the millage for the bonds. One of the first things that we do is we gather all the information for the county. That includes everything from real estate to vehicles to manufacturing, utilities, railroads, watercraft, and we combine all those, and that is what is called an assessed value. The three assessed values for the county are on the board. County operations is $640 million, and school operation is $460 million, and the school bond is worth $685 million. Those are all up about, the county operations and the school bond is up about 6% this year, and school operational is only up 3%, and that is due to the legal residential exemption. The legal residential exemption is growing because we have more people coming into the county, which makes the school tax credit larger. So that offsets the school operations. From the assessed values, we then compute the dollar and the value of a meal. So for county operations, the value of a meal is $640,128. School operations, $460,698. School bonds, $685,698. I then look at the budget for what you have approved for the year. Out of the budget for Oconee County, the dollar amount that I need to bring in from property taxes is $49,759,000. And from that, I take into consideration fee in lieu of, manufacturing, reimbursements from the state, and other various numbers, and it comes down to $34.1 million that we're going to set property taxes on for operational. For the school district, their money that was approved for the budget is $74,625,639. And from that, I remove the tier money that is reimbursed from the state, and that brings the dollar amount to set millage on down to $56,607,157. We then look at the bonds that we have, bond payments that we have to make this year. The county bonds is $1.7 million, and the school district's bonds is $26.4 million. Keep in mind that with the millage last year, I covered the payments for the upcoming September and October payments. This year, Kiwi Fire District has a bond that the county is responsible for paying, and that will come out of their designated 17.5 mils. So the Kiwi Fire District operational will be 15.5, and the bond will set aside two mils for that. Overall this year for county operations and Tri-County Tech, we are going to need 73.3 mils for operational and all the designated millage that you have set aside. That is actually down 1 mil from what we had last year. For school operations, 108.6 mils, which is a decrease of 3 mils. County bonds, it is going to be 3 mil this year, which is actually increasing 1 mil. School bonds is 30 mils, that is no change. So the total millage that I recommend for the 23-24 fiscal year is 214.9 mils. That is an overall decrease of 3 mils. And I'm not going to read these, but this is the millage breakdown, and that is the designated millage that you set aside this year, along with the operations and the school operations and school bonds. Some of the towns changed a little bit this year. Westminster actually decreased their millage. They are going down to 95.8, and West Union is going to increase their millage to 54.3. And beside Kiwi Fire, I just have it broken out where it's 15.5 for operational and 2 for their bonds. And that about does it this evening. Does anyone have any questions?
Don't have questions. Ms. Herbert?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Couple of questions to ask. As we've seen the growth in the millage rate, which is good, but we've also seen a decrease in the amount of property taxes that each person is paying. The growth that we're seeing, I guess in the school, you kind of spoke of that we're having a lot more residences coming in rather than the second homes, or maybe the second homes are becoming primary homes. And I think we'll continue to see more and more of that as we continue to move forward.
I actually used to use the actual number for legal residential exemption from the prior year, but in tracking it closely for the past 3 years, we can't do that any longer. So I actually increased it about 4% this year, just based on the legal residential applications that I know are going to come in once they get their tax notices, because they're going to get it and say, oh goodness, I forgot to apply for residence. And so they can actually do that, up to 2 years later actually. So if they forgot in, 2021, if they're still within the 2 years from the time that they paid the bill, we actually will go back and refund them. So we have to take, a little bit into consideration for that.
As we move forward into, this is the second year we've decreased millage, which is great. Looking into next year, if we move forward with a bond payment of $1.5 million to $1.8 million, obviously we won't know what that millage value is, but based on what you're showing, we would have to have an increase in the bond millage to cover the payment. And that would either be done by capturing growth from the next year or by a possible tax increase.
I have not seen the payment schedule.
I haven't either. I'm guessing, let's say it's 1.5 million.
I mean, if your value of a mill, I'm just throwing these off the top of my head, is 600,000. If you've got 1.8 million in payment, you're gonna need at least 3 mills. I mean, we're gonna have a little bit in sinking fund that you might could use a little bit, so it's not that large of an increase, but we'll just have to see how it all ends up at the end of the year when we balance everything.
A 3 mil increase.
3 mil increase potentially for
told
next
you
year.
so.
Did we not say this was going to happen with that bond?
Wait. Didn't they say? Didn't Nix and Durham and all that? Didn't they say there was no growth? Do you remember that?
There's no growth in their circle.
Oh my God!
The problem is you got to look broader.
They're
Yeah,
just not
Kathy.
They're just not increasing it this year, so they can double
Pass it
up.
along till next year.
Yeah.
But if they would have increased it just a little this year, it wouldn't be so much to
Next
get
year.
next year.
Exactly.
God
So
almighty.
save up last year, hopefully, and this year,
Goodness
because they're
gracious.
going to really give it to you next year.
All right.
Big time.
You know what? I don't know who is teaching physical accounting over at North Greenville, but they failed Mr. Durham.
All right, let's get back to it. But anyway, yeah. So wow, we told you so, didn't we? Did we not? Did we not sit there and tell them?
We have been saying that for almost a year.
We've been saying that was going to happen.
But here's the thing: between now and next year, if they can get 2 big corporations move in here, they're going to pay $1.008 million worth of tax
They're not going to have anything.
without any fee in lieu agreements. Then we won't raise the millage.
So where are they going to get the people?
Let's move
to
on.
work?
We got to move on.
Because I think we should have 100% of the payments in the sinking fund of the current payments this time next year. That's the goal.
And just as a future reference, as we move forward in the next budget season, I just wanted to throw that out there. I was thinking it was between 2 and 3 mills for bond payment on that, but also there's about $1.5 million to $2 million of salary wages that we were not funded this year because the budget wasn't finished until late September. So as we move forward, I'm all for dropping the millage, but you need to pay special attention as we go through next cycle that the budget is going to continue to rise, especially with a bond payment and especially with those salaries that were not funded completely in this year because I think it was about 2/3 funded.
Okay, if you remember back a couple of shows ago, this is exactly what I said, that we have salaries that are not funded in the current budget.
And
Yep.
you got a call.
And I got a call from Mr. Nix
who was very ugly.
that
in
was
that
very
call.
ugly, that call, that said I didn't know what I was talking about.
Because he's an accountant.
But just remember, I told you so. That I knew that there was salaries that were not being funded, that was not included in the budget. And on top of that, a little bit later on in the agenda, they're taking a vote to award that contract for the salary survey. They ain't even got the salary survey back yet.
So now, if a mill is equal to $600,000, like Ms. Hubbard is saying, and there's at least $600,000 in salary for county employees for a half a year, and it's probably twice that. So that's another 2 mills. So we're at 5 mills plus whatever else comes up between now and then.
That's exactly right, Randy.
So-
You got it.
We could be increasing.
And-
We could be looking
and-
at 10%.
Yeah, you're almost that's a getting really close to 10 mil increase.
Well, there's a max that you can increase the
15%.
millage. 15%, right.
But it looks like to me that we're very close to heading right for that line.
Yep.
And this was supposed to be
The
most
conservative council in the history of Oconee County.
And what they've done is they've set us up to be the worst conservative.
So will there be a
council in history.
blue pub celebration?
I
don't know.
thought we had already established that these guys aren't conservative.
Well, we have, but
Well,
now,
that's just
but
a word.
now
That's
we
just a
actually
word. Now here's
physically
the
have it.
proof of it.
There's the proof of it. All right, let's get back to it real quick.
Or something like that. So as we move forward into next year's budget cycle, council just needs to be aware of those moving forward. Thank
If
you.
I'm not mistaken, you've got 2 mills set for a one-time capital request. That could slide over to the bond payments, and that would help a lot. But, again, that will be based on what's approved next year.
Correct. Thank you and your team for your hard work in that as well.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ms. Herbert or statements?
I'd like to thank you too, because I know the time has been crunched on you because of the late budget, so thank you.
I mean, it has been crunched, but one good thing that has come out of it is the assessor's office has been able to get all those legal residential applications in and get them all processed. So everything that has been submitted as of date is going to go out 100% correct. So that is one good thing that's going to come out of it.
Thank you, Ms. Herbert. So I'd like to make a motion to accept the millage as Ms. Herbert's provided per the presentation.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I believe in the agenda we have public comments coming up.
Then next we have public comment. Jennifer?
First, we have Mr. Steven Spearman.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity to address the council my concern today. My name is Steven Spearman. I'm a real estate agent and investor in Oconee County. I'd like to bring forth a matter that has potential impact a large amount of our citizens. But before I talk about the proposal changes I'd like to see, I would like to, what it involves is real estate affidavits. So we've seen multiple of these pop up, these affidavits of interest from out-of-state companies that are getting recorded in our county. On 2 occasions in the last 3 months, the same tactic has been used by out-of-state investors to take advantage of property owners here in our home state. We all know there's a lot of growth in our area and a lot of money coming in from other states into our area. And I feel that some people have been targeted in our area. And I don't think if we handle this issue, more people will be targeted. And essentially what it is on one occasion, an out-of-state company promised to purchase a property, and the seller, and they failed to purchase the property as promised. And another occasion, an out-of-state company claimed to have a contract with the seller, and they didn't have the correct documents signed, and the seller claimed that they were not working with them at all. And in both cases, they were working directly with the seller, and they didn't actually fulfill the contract. But the Register of Deeds had recorded a memorandum of interest on their title. And what these memorandums of interest do is it clouds the title where they cannot sell it. And in both of these cases, there was no expiration date. So would there not be an expiration date, even though the purchase period on the contract that they did not fulfill, the individuals, whether it be 6 months, a year later, they still cannot sell it, because essentially these affidavits are being recorded without any expiration date at all. And most of the times the sellers have no idea that they're even being recorded on there. So with that being said, I have a few solutions that I think would be beneficial and help protect people's interest in real estate. And that would be actually having these affidavits be notarized by the seller. So having these affidavits, the seller go and notarize it, and I think that would help increase transparency of the Register of Deeds not accepting any of these affidavits to cloud someone's title unless it has been notarized and the seller signed it as well. Another way I think that we can prevent this is to essentially have the purchase contract attached to the affidavit when it is recorded, and that would have an expiration date on it, so that these affidavits cannot just forever cloud these people's titles and not offer them to sell them. Because in both cases, one was in Anderson County and one was here in Oconee, even though the purchase agreement was not fulfilled and it had expired, the people, when they were contacted to remove these affidavits, were requesting money. In one case it was $1,000, and the other case was $15,000. So essentially these people were using it as a legal instrument to indefinitely hinder people's or take an interest in someone's real estate. So that's my concern, and that's my potential solution, is just have them notarized before they can be recorded at the county, and then also have an expiration date on them. That way someone can't just indefinitely tie up someone's interest in real estate if they don't fulfill it. Thank you.
Mr. Jim Mann?
And I forgot to give my spiel here before. We have 5 minutes, and the council will not interact out and back, but council can answer your comments at council member comment session. And I will give a warning sign of 1 minute when you approach 5. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, council members, Ms. Brock, Mr. Root. First of all, I'd just like to say I know there's been a lot of back and forth about this budget for this year, but I do want to express my appreciation to the council for providing for substantial raises for law enforcement, first responders, and emergency services. I think that was very critical, very important. You guys knew that. Certainly the workers knew that, so I want to appreciate that. And just have a question coming from them, when can they expect for that to be distributed? And then on another point, concerning the infamous town hall on October 10th, that is going forward, but on or about September 25th, I did receive, I was contacted by the county administrator's office to advise that Chairman Durham had instructed the county offices not to, in effect, cooperate with arranging this public town hall. But regardless, the town hall is going to go forward. It'll be on October 10th. We're going to make all arrangements to make sure that the South Carolina legal requirements are followed. And again, all council members are welcome to attend. Thank you.
Ms. Hannah Lowe?
All right, we're going to come back to that. I didn't know that the administrator now had directed that not to.
No. Jim was contacted by Amanda saying she had been directed.
Okay, that's what I was saying.
Not to participate in putting together the town hall event. So it's going forward. The Republicans and the Democrats and the Uniparty and the Unicorns and the Unicycles, and I'm trying to get to the Libertarians. That's what I was trying to think of. They're all going to be there. They're all going to have questions. And what they're not going to have is transparency in government.
That's right.
That's the one thing that, like Richard Belmore says here, the king in his booster seat promised.
I'm going to put this in here, too. He's got another comment.
That's the one thing that they promised, and that was transparency in government, and they are not willing to provide it. So they have failed.
Big time.
Yeah. And that real estate investor that stood up there is a lot of people that receive letters in the mail of interest in buying their property. I got one today. Somebody wanted to give me $10,000 for my 12 acres in my home. If I was
$10,000.
Well, it was 10,560 something. I don't know. I called my real estate guy and I asked him about it. I said, should we counter offer him? And he said no. He said that you should probably just call the cops. So there is a lot of fraud out there, and I wouldn't call our cops. We know what kind of investigators they breed. I saw he just walked in.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, Chris, you got something?
Yeah, just real quick. So when you look at this, don't cooperate, and the majority not showing up, I wouldn't either. You know why? Because what do you want to answer for? The increase, this millage increase is coming. We said it was going to happen. It's happening, and we'll keep harping on it because it's plain as day when people are not holding these guys accountable for things as simple as due diligence and questioning, and then they let this small vocal minority run over everybody. This is it. This is it. You wait. It's going to get a lot worse.
So real quick, before we move on forward, what I just said about our investigators is one thing. But let me talk about some of the police officers we have. Rashad Crooks and his friend, that does
Charles Mulwee.
Charles Mulwee.
Yeah.
I tell you what, those two guys are phenomenal.
They are.
And
But-
I don't know, that interview you did about Community Tree.
Yeah.
Good.
I've had 15 or 20 people ask me how to get in touch with him.
Well, let me just
So-
say this: these are great cops. These are great. They're good people, but they're being screwed. And you know how they're being screwed?
Well, just
because look, you've got new cops starting. You're raising them up to a $44,000+, but yet the people that's been there 15 and 20 years, they're not getting anything.
Right. Well,
Yeah, go back and look at some of the people that just retired last year. I'm not going to throw out names, but if you've been around for a while, you know who. And look at what they retired at after 20-something years as compared to what they're talking about starting these people at. And it'll make them grow up. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And just like Jim Mann said, it's great that we passed this budget
It is.
finally, but when are these folks going to start seeing it?
When's the rest of the county
And-
employees going to see it?
When are the rest of exactly? When are the rest of them going to see it? And just, I wanted to say, since when does the county chairman of council control what the county offices do? Since when did he become administrator? Since when did he become the king haihuki?
Because he is the king and he can do what he wants
Well,
to.
you know what?
No, I don't think so.
I had a conversation today
Yeah.
about how this works, and I tell you what, he's probably one of the smartest guys I know. It's good that we have a council, but it's terrible that we have a hired administrator. We need an elected administrator.
We need a supervisor.
Who
You need to go back to the county supervisor form of government.
We need both. We need a council and we need an elected administrator. That way, when they're doing this, she does not feel threatened in her job, and she can say, "You need to reconsider this and take your time about it." She don't have to be mean with them, but she needs to know that she's protected.
Yeah.
I don't
And-
think that she feels threatened as it is anyway. But how many years does she have in this job? And she's going to walk away, even if they told her bye today, she's going to walk away with most of her pay and a wonderful retirement.
Right,
How
but when
clever is she?
she does leave, and we have another one, we need to make sure that they are in a protected position to not be ran over by a rogue council.
we
But
need to
how
do
are
is
you going to do that?
Well, wait. Let
vote
me
for
ask one
better
question.
people.
I want to make sure for the record, what we've listened to so far, with the millions of dollars in reduction in the budget, that's not true.
That's not true. No.
Right.
Not at all.
Everybody needs to understand. They called us liars. We called it. That's not true. We're going up. And not only that, when we were told by Durham and Nix and all these guys that there's no growth, the growth is coming.
We need to go back and pull all of that, and I'll do it. And we've got it. I mean, where they made
There
the
you
statement
go.
there was no growth, that this was just lake people moving in for the spring and summer.
Exactly.
That was made comments.
That was Nick's.
And now we're finding out that a majority of the people are asking for their legal residence.
Yes.
And you heard Christy say that word for word, legal residence.
And, but what that means,
And the real estate agent.
and what that means
points out.
is they're dropping from 6% to 4%.
Right.
But they can drop. It can keep dropping, but we're putting 7,000 or 8,000 homes on the market right now that are being built.
There you
So-
go.
But we're also adding a $25 million bond that's going to cause it to go up. That's the kicker. It's going to cause it to go up.
And here's the problem with that bond is our taxes are not coming down. Mm-hmm. They're coming down, but now we're going to shoot them up.
That's right.
For some
$25 million.
But it's not $25 million. It's $50 million
I know
when
that.
you look at the cost of it and 20 years down the road.
I know that.
So if you just raise the taxes or keep them flat, you get that extra $1 million or $2 million a year that you need to put into that sewer south project.
And on top, the money is already there. You
Right.
could do it without the damn bond. You don't
But-
need this bond.
This is just
Don't need this sewer.
what this really is.
That's true.
What this bond is, everybody needs to be clear. This is Matt Durham's shit stain on the community for the next 20 years. He's not going to get reelected, but we're going to have to look at the dumb shit he did for the next 20
The
years.
pipe of nowhere. The pipe of shit of nowhere.
Yeah.
All right. We need to get back real
do
quickly.
one quick thing. So when we talked about this, or when I talked about this planning commission, he went before the council and gave them numbers and said there was not any growth.
That's
Period.
right.
That's
He
what
did.
said.
That's what he
Right.
said.
So what's happening is all this growth is happening. We got this budget. The planning's not happening. You do not have unlimited time and unlimited funding. You have to be very strategic where you're going to spend your money to support this. Because if you don't, that's when the emergency funding is needed.
Before we go on and talk about spending money, there's another restaurant in Walhalla. I won't name it, but I was in there the other day, and this is what they said. They said if you bring your girlfriend, they'll give you 5% off your meal. Then they said that if you bring your girlfriend in there, they'll give you 10% off.
And what if you bring them both?
They said you get to eat for free.
Back to the show.
Hello. Like I told the planning committee last night, I'm a nurse, not a public speaker. So bear with me as I shake inside as I talk to you. As she said, my name is Hannah Lowe, and I live in Oakway. I'm going to be transparent with you because I would like you to be transparent with me. As you can probably tell from my accent, I am not from here. I'm from the great state of Florida. I'm a 5th generation, but I am married to a local who has a farm in Oakway where his family has owned it since 1855. What I have to speak about is neither a Republican or a Democrat issue. It is an everyone issue because it concerns everyone in this room. Since I moved to Oconee, I have experienced its beauty, its waterfalls, its land, its farms, and its people. Although I have seen a pattern happening here like I've seen in my home state for years, Florida has been destroyed, its farmlands and preserves and its swamps have been destroyed by housing development after housing development, development after development. In the county I'm from, there's at least 4 million people. Yes, I'm from Miami-Dade County. And I find it so sad that our preserves have been crushed, our land has been taken, and most people don't know, but Florida used to be the biggest cattle producer in the United States. And as a Christian, I believe that I must steward the land. In my holy book, it says I have dominion over the land, but it does not say I'm here to destroy every piece of it. I beg you as the local government, what do you want to pass on to your next generation? Many people in this county believe that we are not stewarding the land properly for the next generation, but they don't know what to do because they feel that the local government is in the hands of the developers. What do you want to give? What do you want to give to the next generation? Nature can live without us, but we cannot live without nature. The farms, obviously, we all eat. I hope we all eat. You can't grow a bell pepper in a grocery store. I've picked at least 10 bell peppers from my garden this morning. You can't replace forestry. You can't replace nature. Once it's gone, it's gone. And living in Oconee County and being a nurse, I have realized that many people in this county still use Appalachian Mountain medicine. As a nurse, they have told me time and time again of the herbs and the trees and the roots and the flowers they herb to heal not only themselves but their families that they have used for generation upon generation. At this moment, I challenge the Oconee County to do better. Recycling is not enough. Only 9% of the actual plastics that get recycled actually get recycled properly in the United States. It's not enough. I bet you as young people, and maybe even today, you skipped rocks on the river, you climbed trees, you hunted squirrels, maybe even coon hunted, like my husband used to do. Maybe you were on your grandpa's tractor and you thought it was the greatest thing in the entire world. But I beg you to consider what we're doing. I also challenge the citizens of Oconee County who feel like we need to steward the land better to stand up to speak in front of people, even if you're nervous like I am, to call your representatives, to email them, and to speak out against what you want to see in your county. Do you want to give the next generation slabs of concrete where they can't even grow food or run in the forest? Thank you, and I hope you consider what I have to say.
Boy, she better watch out. Her mailbox is good as gone. I will see old Perry over there texting right now. He's getting the boys together.
Yeah, I mean he is. He's texting right now. I was just noticing that. Her comments were spot on.
Absolutely.
I tell you what, it's a shame. It's an awful, awful shame when people from not around here, like Chris and me, are the only ones that are standing up to try to stop the travesty that's happening that's being directed by the people that are from here, like Glenn Hart, Don Mize.
Well, I'm from here, and I'm standing with y'all.
You are with us, but there are very few of you. There's very few
Well,
of you.
I'll tell you what's a shame. What's a shame is when her voice is cracking because she is trying not to be emotional, and you've got the chairman up there sucking on a big gulp and won't even look at her while she's talking.
That's right.
That
Well,
is what's a shame.
He don't know. He can't look a real woman in the eye anyway.
Nah.
I mean, I was just noticing the texting going on.
Who was texting?
Perry.
Oh, I didn't know. Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, seemed
Yeah.
like, oh, you don't think he's calling the boys, do you?
I'm telling you, they're getting right now. They're online. They're looking at tax data.
They're
and
trying to figure
find
out who she is.
Trying to find out who she's married to, so
Yep.
they can go and knock her damn mailbox over, and it'll be down before she gets
That's
home.
exactly what you're exactly right.
So
But
they
I
can
tell you
drive by
what.
her house and harass her husband, figure out who
Yeah.
her husband's daddy is. Yeah.
But if
figure
he's
out where
been
they
farming,
live.
if he's an old farm boy that's been on the farm since the 1800s, he's liable to plow their ass like a new dirt.
But the person that would know who this is sitting there on the far end, and that's Don Mize, because that's where Don Mize grew up. Don grew up in Oakway. I mean, that's where he lived. He was on a farm.
You know he ain't going to say nothing about it.
No, not at all.
But
All right.
be careful, girl. We got you back.
We got you back. And Chris, we need to work on see if we can find out who she is. I would love to have her. I'd love for have you do an interview with her.
Hannah Lowe.
Because I really think that would be a great interview for you to sit down and talk with her with conversations with Chris Ruin. All right, let's go back to the
Hey,
council meeting.
This cheese tray is really good.
I know. Want to thank you and want to thank your ex-wife for delivering it for us.
Thank the state of Texas.
Yep.
Good evening, gentlemen. John Morey from Mountain Rest. Say, I want to talk to you this evening about your ordinances. And before I launch into that, I need to tell you that I spent 37 years in engineering, civil engineering, and surveying. So I have a little bit of an idea what I'm talking about. I want to give you the executive summary first. Your subdivision ordinance is trash. It was initiated in 1975, mainly using the roads and bridges ordinance that's been modified slightly and ever so slightly. I'm going to tell you that I started working in 1970. I'm going to equate your subdivision ordinance, as you call it, to about 1980. So stop and think about this for a second. Everybody before you has done nothing about this. You're getting ready to come upon a time of great subdivision expansion in this county. If I was working as a consultant today for some of those developers, I can't tell you what a piece of trash we could put out on the ground and the people of Oconee County will have to live with forever. There is no TIA, Mr. Elliott. No traffic impact analysis is required for a subdivision in Oconee County. You have 4 classifications of roads. The highest classification is an arterial. You know what an arterial is? Let me brief you. Highway 123 is an arterial. What is your right-of-way requirement for an arterial? 66 feet. It's about as wide as this room. So that's what you build a arterial with in the county. So that's the kind of junk that you have in your ordinance. It needs a lot of work. A lot of work. There's no requirements for soil testing of your roads. That's why your roads are falling apart. roads are designed by a geotechnical engineer. There's no requirement in your ordinance for that. I'm not sure. It's what it is, what you have is what was back in the 50s and 60s. The county commissioner said, go out and build one of those roads. And the guy said, well, I'm going to put 6 inches of base and 1.5 inches of asphalt. What do you think? He said, yeah, that's fine. Go do it. And that's what we're driving on today, because you don't have a better methodology for designing those roads in your ordinances. Your lot sizes and a lot of setbacks and all the other things that should go in the subdivision ordinance are in your zoning ordinance. I mean, you can find them, but that's not where it's supposed to be. The biggest thing is the comprehensive plan. You finally mention it somewhere in the subdivision ordinance, in your zoning ordinance. It's mentioned twice. I spent a couple of hours going through these ordinances. So it's mentioned twice in your zoning ordinance. That should be the basis of your subdivisions, should be your comprehensive plan. Just because somebody wants to do something doesn't mean you should let them. What it means is you should let them follow the rules and regs so that they will put something on the ground that everybody lives with forever. It doesn't go, subdivisions don't go away. You don't, very seldom do you dig one up and start over. So those, I just call upon you to think about it. If y'all could get together and come up with some way to start looking at your subdivision ordinance before you get it just comes down around your head. This is your chance. The people before you have kicked the can down the road, and this could be your day. I appreciate you listening.
I have to be honest here. This is exactly during last year of what I preached about that we needed more than anything in the world was development standards.
Well, here's the thing about John Morey. John Morey has been going down there to planning commission and county council meeting after county council meeting after county council meeting for the last 20 years that he has lived here with the same speech. The same speech. And none of them listen. And he's right. He's right.
Absolutely.
We're going to have things that get built today that we're going to have to deal with, look at, and live with for the rest of our lives. And we need to be building things in Oconee County that we can be proud of, not things that make us sick when we drive by them.
Or things that are designed to last for a good while and not fall down after 5 years.
Right.
Yes.
And look at our roads. One thing. I was somewhere the other day and I was talking to a guy, and I was like, when I was in England, they had all these buildings that was built in the 1400s and the 1600s, and they're still standing. And I was like, we ain't got anything like that around here. And he's a real smart ass, and he said we wasn't here then either. But since we've been here, we haven't built anything that's going to last 300 years.
Okay, so you've got a majority leader sitting there listening tonight.
Is he listening?
That lady, and he went before the council last year and said that when we talked about planning, basically he said, if you zone or you plan like what we're talking about, what's going to happen, that is the globalists, the socialists, and the communists coming to take your property.
Anytime you mention the word zoning,
but do you remember?
That's what happens.
But here's what I wanted to say though about last month's county council meeting. Mr. Morey came up there and he talked about the bond issue. And immediately after the county council meeting, the dog dick Nat himself, Perry Smith, was putting all this stuff on the internet about how Mr. Morey was a moron.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mr. Morey is far from a moron. Like I said on our page, there's a lot of morons in Mountain Rest. John Morey is not one of them.
No,
and some of them just came to town, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, really. And I'm going to tell you something. He's a real engineer. How about them apples? So yeah.
I mean, John actually was a partner in an engineering firm.
Yeah.
And
How about them
some of John's work, if you've ever been to Texas, is the largest dance hall in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And that's a big deal, if you know which one that is. Cowboys Dance Hall.
Well, you know what? Unfortunately, people are seeing exactly what was predicted.
Well, you got an engineer sitting in the audience. Perry's an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Look,
you know, you
look
got
here,
Glenn,
but here's
you
the-
got Glenn
Yeah,
Hart sitting.
there are 2 engineers in the audience.
Yeah, Jim Mann and John
There's
Moore.
Jim Mann.
Yeah,
who I
but
believe
you
is a
got Glenn
mechanical
Hart that
engineer.
knows everything. Remember?
And then John Morey, who's a civil engineer. So yeah, there are 2 engineers there. What I was going to say though, Luke made a comment. Has anyone noticed that there are more transplants fighting for conservation of our lands than locals?
You're right.
And here's the thing. I'm not, I guess technically I am a transplant, but I've said it over and over again on the show here. If y'all need an example, take a day trip to York County because that's where we moved from. And the reason being is because we've seen it happen other places. So because people here don't seem to think that what has happened other places can happen here, and it is happening now, folks. It's happening now.
Charlotte, North
Developers,
Carolina, Lake Norman is a perfect example.
yeah, developers at Lake Wiley, developers are like they're opportunists. You know, they're there to make money.
Well, look,
and they're like buzzards on a rump roast. So they're looking over here. The taxes are cheap. There are no rules. There are no rules.
Well, that's like
And
that's
thanks to you guys, you my property rights, no rules people. So what better place to go with your chunk of change?
But
and
why do
buy
they
up
say
a bunch
that?
of Papaw's farms?
They're
and
not stupid.
follow
Why do they
y'all.
say that? Is there money involved? I don't know. I'm just asking. Why
They're
is it
coming. So and that's what's going to happen. And what Mr. Morey was saying is absolutely right. You got roads that'll chew your tires off because all they've done is throw down some sand and put like half an inch of pavement
Let
on
me
top.
let me say let me
here up on the mountain today. As I was coming down here, the state contractor who is mowing with the bush hog supposed to be mowing the side of the road. He's going down the middle of Whetstone Road mowing the grass in the middle of the road.
Well, let me say this.
It's growing up
There
to
is
the
grass
yellow
in
line.
the
Let me
road.
say this. Okay. We're almost at a threshold of being included in what they call the metropolitan zone of Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, which they call it the metro.
Ugh.
We have to be at 94,000 plus population in order to be qualified for the DMA market. When that 94,000 happens, the way of life in Oconee that we know it, the peaceful, the tranquil, it's over because then we're part of a metro market. That means then Greenville has to start expanding outward. You've got more people coming inward, and the prime area for property, guess what, is Oconee County, South Carolina.
Don't say the N word. Don't say the N word.
What N-word?
Oh no, let me say.
I didn't say that.
He's-
Just
let
basically,
me-
No.
let me.
But
just-
I'm serious.
He's yes, I agree. But Jeff, you're making a prediction. It's already happening. I don't believe we can stop it. I also want
You
to
could.
thank.
No. You could.
Well-
you have within a year to 2 years of being able to slow it down, but you're going to have some development standards in which to do that.
Let me do a shout out to Randy Bond, folks. We're having a cocktail party during this event, and I must say,
Can we go
thank
back?
you. Thank
we need
you.
to go back and keep
But-
moving
but-
on.
but-
Yes. Well, Randy's slowing us down. Go ahead.
Go, Randy. Go ahead.
So I said this, the OCC pulled the clip from the show when I said we need zoning, we need higher taxes to slow this thing down. If we want to keep Oconee County the way Oconee County is, it's going to cost us money to do it. If we use other people's money in Oconee County, other people's ideals get invested in the community, and that's not what we want.
Yep, you're right. All right, back to the council meeting we go.
Council member comments?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So I understand what the gentleman was saying about real estate. I have to take money out of my pocket every month because I pay for a life lot with Norton just to make sure my title's not messed up or somebody steals my house. And the same thing applies to what you're talking about. So, I mean, it's all over the United States and it's happening. The farmland, we're the #1 producer of poultry in South Carolina, with a number of 3 or 4 producer of beef in South Carolina. I pride myself in that. We need to protect the farmland, and also we need to have development standards. I know we've been working on development standards in planning commission, and it gets kicked around and it goes away. We've talked about it up here. It's almost too late. Let's do something. Dadgummit, I'm mad. Let's do something. It affects everybody in this room. I don't care where you live with it.
I don't know if you're watching right now, but I have to bring this to everybody's attention. Hold on a second. I'm going to go back, and I need you to look at your left bottom corner, and you need to see what I'm just witnessed here. So let's go back to the comments. I'm on instant replay. Watch the bottom of the comment. Can y'all see?
We're the #1 producer of poultry in South Carolina, with a number of 3 or 4 producer of beef in South Carolina. I pride myself in that. We need to protect the farmland.
Watch on the bottom left right now, to the left of the screen.
Standards. I know we've been working on development standards in planning commission, and it gets kicked around and it goes away. We've talked about it up here. It's almost too late. Let's do something.
And he starts laughing.
I'm mad. Let's do something.
They all start laughing.
I don't care where you live with us. Fair play.
That's not laughing.
That was laughing. He is laughing.
No,
he's smiling and laughing.
No, that's sleep apnea. He
It's not
swallowed
about
his
property
tongue.
rights. It's about
Now he's got a headache.
protecting your property rights.
He just
It's
picked
about
his
living
nose.
together as a
I just wanted to
community.
show y'all that.
Yeah,
enjoying
that's sleep
living.
apnea. That's not.
Okay,
That wasn't laughing.
excuse me.
Yeah, he swallowed his tongue.
Let's do something, guys. If the planning commission can't do it, the planning committee, and economic development committee can do something about it. Or if y'all can't do about it, let's do something about it. But it's almost too late. We're sitting here, we've talked about it, the planning commission's talked about it ever since I've been on council. Off and on. Yes, I'm mad. Let's do something about it, guys. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Any other comments? All right, hearing none, we have no third readings of any ordinances.
So you mean there was no comments from Don Mize or Glenn Hart when it came to farming?
Nope.
What exactly are they up there for?
I wanted y'all to see that. I wanted to go back and play that because that's what's been happening in every council meeting for the many months, the laughing and the other stuff. So
Right.
when there's no decorum in the council chambers.
No.
None whatsoever. But John Elliott just said what I have been saying for years. Exactly the same thing. You got to have development standards in order to protect the county.
But right now, our listeners and everyone else can see that the deplorable Perry Smith, the vice president of the OCC, laughs and scoffs at the very people he said he stood for with the OCC.
Who's that now?
The farmers and the
Yeah.
middle and the working class in this county.
But
the
they
ones
don't.
that contribute. You see
Not at all.
him
Not at
now.
all. Not at
you
all.
see him now laughing.
Yes.
At them and at the peril that's coming to them. That is the purest picture of a deplorable human being
We just saw it.
that there is.
We just saw it. You folks that are watching tonight on the show, we've been telling you this. We're not making any of this up, but you just seen it.
Look at the article last December after I made the presentation to the Planning Commission about this very subject and how Perry Smith was quoted in the paper to have people confront me.
All right, Kathy, I'm sorry, but you're up. Go ahead.
I was just hoping that maybe he was choking on a cat, Chewy. That's all.
They do love cats over at 180 Queen Drive.
But
That's for sure.
Here's the thing: they need a security officer. They need to have a different one come to each meeting, and when they start that, they need to be escorted out.
Well,
But they're
gonna
not
act like
because
children.
that is up to the chairman to maintain decorum
Well,
in the council meeting. And when
everybody
you don't
needs to
have
get
someone,
together there and petition for that to happen. And
well,
who
the
cares
thing-
about the stupid chairman? Because the chairman is supposed to work for everybody else.
But the
So maybe
chairman
if we
runs
get
the
several
council
hundred
meetings.
people-
But here's the thing: he's not been disruptive. He's just been a prick. That's all.
You don't laugh in a courtroom. I mean, if you're in court, you don't laugh. You're in magistrate's
but the
court, you
thing-
don't
No,
laugh.
the
But this is a
bailiff
government
come and
meeting.
gets you.
This is a public government meeting.
Listen, if they
bailiff come
escort
and
him
gets
out of
you.
there, if they escort him out of there, he doesn't have the opportunity to keep giving me entertainment every time he picks his nose.
I'm sorry, this is not entertainment anymore. This is sickening, it's disgusting, and it's deplorable that you're coming into a public meeting and you're acting like a 5-year-old child that just got the hell beat out of him in a sandbox.
I mean, it's disrespectful.
It's
Very
disrespectful.
disrespectful, but at the same time, I find a lot of entertainment value in watching him pick his nose and rub his head and scratch his whatever.
I mean, I wish you'd smile for the camera with missing his teeth.
Well, I mean, but one of our listeners here says that he's no longer the vice president.
Well,
that's good.
That's good, but he's still going around claiming he is.
Yep.
All right.
All right, let's go on.
Let's get back into
He's on
it.
the board of directors.
Lord have mercy.
I know. Here we go. We're back.
He's legendary.
We have second reading of the following ordinance, ordinance 2023-17, and ordinance authorizing pursuant, Mr. Root had corrected me on my legal lingo, pursuant to Title 12, Chapter 44 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina, 1976, as amended, the execution and delivery of a special source revenue credit agreement by and between Oconee County, South Carolina, and a company identified for the time being as Project GALT, acting for itself, one or more current or future affiliates and other project companies, collectively company, providing for a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes incentive, providing for a special source revenue credit, creating a or modifying an existing joint county industrial and business park between Oconee County and Pickens County so as to designate the property of the project as part of the park and other related matters. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Elliott, motion second. Mr. Davis, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? I have first reading of the following ordinances. Ordinance 2023-18. Ordinance amending Chapter 32 of the Oconee County Code of Ordinances in certain limited regards and particulars only regarding amendments, deletions to the sign control ordinance of Oconee County and other matters related thereto. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Elliott, second. Mr. Davis, any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So, letter number B was going to be deleted. I'd like to make a motion to amend the motion to retain section B, and I'll read it. No sign shall be erected or any existing sign operated where the illumination is of such intensity or brilliance as to cause glare or impair the vision of any driver of any motor vehicle or which otherwise interferes with any driver's operation of a motor vehicle.
Second that.
Have a motion, second. Any further discussion on?
It's about safety. I know the state has some rules about state laws, but I think this should apply also to the county's roads too. So we just need to take care of our drivers out there.
If you give me 1 second, I'm trying to pull that up.
Yeah, on a piece of paper.
We was removing section Bravo of section 6. Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? So let's vote on Mr. Elliott's amendment to the ordinance. All in favor? Okay, now we're back to the amended ordinance. Is there any further discussion on the ordinance? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay, we have no readings on resolutions. We have discussion items regarding the Anderson Oconee Regional Forensics Laboratory. is staff's recommendation that council approve the request to renew services provided by Anderson County Regional Forensics Laboratory in the amount of $59,000. Approve this expense in future years as long as it does not exceed the approved budget amount. Is there any discussion regarding this? I make a motion to accept staff's recommendations.
Second.
Any discussion? Here none, all in favor? We have a 2023 Chevrolet Silverado for the Sheriff's Office. The amount was $51,998. Procurement was approved by council on fiscal year 2023-2024 budget process. Budget is $51,998. Project cost $51,998. This is $0 balance. Funding is coming from the Capital Equipment 325 Vehicle Fund. It is staff's recommendation that council approves the purchase of one Chevrolet Silverado from Love Chevrolet of Columbia, South Carolina, in the amount of $51,998. Do I have a motion to accept staff's recommendation?
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor? I have procurement number RFP 23-01. Classification, compensation, and time use study. Amount is $59,500 from the administration department. Procurement was approved by council on fiscal year 2023-24 budget process. Budget $59,500. Project cost $59,500. Leaves a $0 balance. Funding for this project will come from open position salaries. It is the staff's recommendation that council approve, one, the award of RFP 23-01, classification, compensation, and time use study to Evergreen Solutions, LLC of Tallahassee, Florida, in the amount of $59,500. And two, authorize the county administrator to execute the contract documents for this project. I have a motion.
Make a motion.
I have a motion, Mr. Hart. Does I have a second?
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Durham. I want to thank you and council for the salary increases for law enforcement and for the emergency services. But my experience with consultants is they tell you what you already know. So for $60,000 taxpayer money, we're going to pay somebody to tell us that we know we're not paying our folks enough. My recommendation is we go back to the step and scale. We have plenty of time to refine it. I know that everybody didn't agree with parts of it. We got, 5 or 6 months before we start the budget process again. Refine that so that we can all agree on it without spending $60,000 on consultant telling us that we don't pay our people enough. We could take that $60,000 and start fixing our building codes department, which we all know is broken and have heard about from the public for the last 2 meetings. So I'm sorry, I'm going to have to vote against it.
Any other discussions?
Yes, one of my major concerns, if y'all move forward with this study, when it comes back and states that the amount needed is $5 to $6 million, then what do you do? Because I think it was kind of said, once we get this stuff done, because this was kind of thrown around early in the budget process that we were going to have this done by October, November of this year. And it was understanding of how long and how big a project this is. So in my opinion, if you're going to go spend $60,000 to have somebody come in, it not only takes $60,000 away from something that we can use it for through salaries. Building codes is a perfect example after what we've had that last time, and address a couple of departments that are in dire need, road construction, our bridges, those departments that you could divide this money across the board. Are we still under a hiring freeze with
No.
any departments?
There are 3 positions that were not requested to be lifted.
Okay, so we still have that out there. So we've got $60,000 that we're, in my opinion, using it to already know what's out there. And you're going to take time away from your department heads that are having to actually go and do this work with consultants. And if y'all have ever, I don't know, maybe y'all have all been a part of consultants before, but it takes a lot of time out of the day-to-day operations that we're already short-staffed. So you're going to take a consultant to come in, we're going to spend $60,000 to come in here and tell us that these departments are $10,000 to $15,000 underpaid. And I know there was a complaint about a specific one, why it was chosen, I don't know, that this specific person was getting $20,000 where the people below were getting nothing, which is not really a true statement, but that lower salaries in our county needs to come up. Nobody needs a study to know how to do that. And if we took $60,000 and said, hey, everybody that makes below $33,000, we're going to take this $60,000 and divide it among that number. I don't even know what that number is, but even if it was $300 or $400, it's a difference to their day-to-day operation. So I'm just saying, I'm definitely not in favor of it, and if you move forward with it, you better be ready to fund it with a couple $1 million. So yeah, I keep hearing that the budget's growing, and we're not fiscally responsible. Well, paying $60,000 to learn what you already know, to me, is not responsible. Thank you.
So a couple of facts. If you go back through the minutes, it was never stated that the salary study would be done by October. If you remember, that's when we talked about setting money to the side while the county continued to work on their internal study for implementing. Also, you said we should do the study ourselves, but then you said that the staff doesn't have the time to work with consultants who will be doing the study. I think that's just continuing, though, to kick the can down the road. Yeah, we can take $60,000 to divide out peanuts, but we can take the time to do it right. And you talk about funding, the stepping scale was a $6 million funding scale that was broken up over 3 years. I don't know what this is going to tell us, but it'll tell us something we can have a plan to start moving forward, whether that's, hey, great, if we can do it in 1 year, if it has to be phased in over 2 or 3 years, then at least we have a plan and a goal and we know what we're doing. Otherwise, we're just taking a shot in the dark and saying, I think this position qualifies for this. Because different positions may have the same title, but the work function is completely different. So that's what this study is going to dive into.
So, Mr. Chairman, what you're stating is when this study comes back, you're going to fund it in a period of maximum of 3 years?
Mr. Davis, I said I don't know what it's going to look like because we don't have the study. But we will then be able to make a plan with the help of administration and staff to implement what's necessary.
No.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
That is 3-2.
All right, council committee reports, we have none. Board and commission appointments, we have one at large for the Agricultural Advisory Board. We have one question here on file.
Ms. at-large seat, I'd like to put Mr. Nate Duncan up from, he's actually lives in District 2, but this would be the at-large seat.
All right, all in favor of Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Vote is 5-0.
All right, we have no action item or no items for executive session. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion. Second.
Second, all in favor?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. And what a swell, interesting council meeting it actually was. We're back here with you on Let's Talk Oconee. That last half of the meeting, again, we've been down this road so many times before. We're going to spend $60-something thousand for something we already know. And then on top of that, you won't have the money to pay the people. So then the people that didn't get raises, they're going to be screwed all over again. I mean, heard this for all my life.
Well, the thing about it is, $60,000 may seem like a waste.
It is a waste.
But if they get a study, and if the chairman would have said, whatever the study says, we are prepared to do what it takes to make the study happen.
But they're not going to do it.
Now, no, listen. If he would have said that, that $60,000 would have been money well spent for the workers of the county, the taxpayers, and everybody around. But if they waste $60,000 finding out that it's going to take $8 million to get us back to where it is, and go, oh, whoa, that's too much, and then do nothing, it's a waste of $60,000.
And that's exactly, Randy, what's going to happen.
Well, and the thing
Here's the
about it
thing
is, Matt Durham is not going to have enough time on the council to actually pass it and implement it anyway. The study if they pay for it now. It might get done by April. Well, he's going to be voted out and gone by January when it gets put in.
I can't believe it. Something like that should not take that long.
Here's the thing.
3-4
Well, this
months.
is Oconee County. And
Well-
they'll get the study back real quick, but they'll hold on to it till they absolutely have to do something with it. And the poor county employees are the ones that are suffering. But the citizens are suffering because the employees aren't getting paid what they should. It's
called morale.
So they're not doing the job to the standard
Okay.
that we deserve.
They're
as citizens.
tired.
You know what? You guys are right, but here's something else too. These guys are going to be on the hook. When they do a study and the study says this, they can sit there all day long and tell everybody, oh, well, we can't afford what should be done in the market. So what's going to happen? Everybody will know you ought to be looking for different jobs.
But my question is, why doesn't Matt Durham have the time to do the study himself?
Well,
He does everything
He
else.
stopped the budget process with the napkin writing on the third
third reading.
reading back in July.
That's right.
Right, turned around, rewrote the whole budget with different color crayons, came right back around to the same spot, and we approved it.
And then we approved it
So-
at $10 more million than the original budget,
Right.
which was
So
what Amanda
if-
Brock put out.
If he had time to do that, he has time to go ahead and do the study himself.
Do you trust him?
Well, at least he would come back to the conclusion that we don't need $60,000 to do what we already know.
I do not. Okay. You know what?
These
guys.
Listen, all Amanda has to do
Here's
is
what-
to call over to Greenville and say, "Hey, how much does a Parks and Recreation
Yeah,
employee make in Greenville?"
but Kathy wants to
Call
say
somebody
something.
in Atlanta. Hey, what does a Parks and Recreation employee make in Atlanta? Take the two. Take what
That's
we
not-
got,
that's
divide
not-
by 3, and that's what we need to do.
That's not how you do it.
It's a
No.
region.
That's
And
exactly
here's
what
the thing. I
easiest
think
thing to do.
I think back in 2018 or 2019 that there was a study. And I'm not sure if it was just for courthouse employees or if it was for the entire county, which is something that we should ask someone. And you can start by asking each and every employee to list their responsibilities. That's a place to start, to find out what a comparable salary would be when you're talking about doing a salary study for yourself. Because when they're saying, we don't know, everybody does something different. Yeah, well, ask them
She's
to write
right.
it down.
Well, that really, Kathy, came out early on in the budget process when they were talking about that. Amanda stood up there and she said, if we actually had to pay our county employees for what they did, the numbers would be so much higher. But since we haven't paid them for what they actually do, we don't have to give them as much money. And that salary study is going to change everything.
You know what?
Can I tell you something for y'all
Yes,
for y'all's
yes,
benefit?
Yes.
Okay. Clemson University did a class and comp study about 5.5 years ago. Did the exact same thing. They paid this major company to come in, and we had to break down our salary jobs and our descriptions, and they took a look and they realized that we were grossly not being paid market value. Okay. And can I tell you, to this day forward, that market study was thrown in the trash can because they still ain't paying nobody the market value at Clemson University?
Of course not.
And that's going to be the same thing that's going to happen here in Oconee. We've been down this
Well, who
road
says the
10, 15 years. We have people inside our county government now that has already done a lot of this homework on its own, and they've come up with the same thing where people are not getting paid.
Okay, so let me say something. We want to do a study. You know what? There are companies that subscribe to regional salary studies. That's how companies stay ahead of the market. We did it in Mexico because we had a 40% turnover. I would sit there and look at it, and I could see what my people were getting paid, and things would shift much faster. You don't need to pay 60.
You don't.
You can subscribe to that. It's got to be less than 10 grand, and you will get that every single month, and you can start making adjustments.
I just want to say that I guess I'm looking out, and my thoughts are with county employees that I know that have been there for 10 and 15 and 20 years, and they're getting completely railroaded.
Well,
they're
they
working double. They're trying to do the job of 2 or 3 different people in county government. And it just seems like this chairman and the other two on the other side. And then we have Mr. Smith getting on there, well, Julian Davis ain't done a damn thing for the law enforcement. Bullshit. 2 years ago, they worked together. A year ago, last year, they were able to raise the budget, the salaries for the sheriff's department. But my biggest thing is with the county employees. I am concerned because I know that there's a lot of them that are burnt out. They're tired. They love what they do. They want to be involved. They want to help the county government. They love their job. But by God, there comes a point that they're tired.
Okay,
and they love the people. They love the people they work with.
They love the people they work with.
But they
yet,
have families.
We have a chairman that is so disingenuous that doesn't give a rat's ass about the people of the county. That's just sitting up there.
It's not just him. It's his majority.
No, it's his majority, and it's the whole damn thing.
Right, but think about this. Look at the millions and millions of dollars
Hey,
that
Larry
we're spending on
Larry
Sewer
said
South.
it's the same with teachers, and he is absolutely right.
Hey,
And notice
Teachers
that
got a
they
raise,
did-
though.
The
But-
teachers did get a raise,
but
and I heard they got told again that they are replaceable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That did,
Okay,
yeah.
let me
in
just
the
say
last
something.
2 weeks.
And notice they didn't increase the school budget any. They didn't, and I'm sorry, but whenever they passed that school budget this year, they did not even spend a single second reviewing it. When that school budget came through this year, they've spent months on this budget. That school budget came through, and it was just loose.
It's probably, Kathy, it's probably because one organization did something personally for another organization.
Okay, let me
She
just
fell off.
let me make a point. This is a bit. People want to say the county's different. We're in a business. There's nothing perfect. There are ways to get to that, but if you can turn around and you spend this kind of money on sewer south and other things, you do not have unlimited money and unlimited time. These guys made a choice to do this on a guess for something saying common sense instead of taking care of people. You never, that is management 101. You have to take care of the people first.
But the problem is you're dealing with the upper management of county council
No,
of
I
3
agree. I'm
people
just saying-
that are stuck and living in an age that does not exist. They don't care about the people.
And they're reckless.
And they're reckless. And,
Right.
and we
And
heard it
arrogant.
tonight. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
okay.
tonight.
So we agree on
Oh,
that.
well, we do. Tonight we're going to sit here and our taxes and the millage is going to go down a little bit. Oh, whoopee. But next year we're going to pay the repercussions of $25+ million of a bond that no damn body in this county wants.
Or
And just
needs.
remember, next year, come June, when it's primary time, go out and vote.
And nobody's going to get a raise.
Nope.
And when you have somebody leaves with several years of service, it's going to take you over a year, much more than a year, to train them when it's a hell of a lot cheaper to pay somebody what they're worth.
Well, maybe Cousin Eddie will come to town.
Well, final
know who
comment.
Eddie
I want
is.
to go ahead and start wrapping this up here real
Yeah,
quickly, but let me say this.
Who's Eddie?
That tonight I saw something in John Elliott I've not seen in any previous council meeting.
Fire.
John
I liked
was
it.
pissed. I
we need
liked
to
it
talk
too.
to John.
Well,
John Elliott was absolutely
We need to
on
talk
fire.
to John.
Yep, I think so. But hey, as we close out here, well, we just ran through something that came into my head, and I wonder, with the county council not saying anything about the school board budget and the OCC not saying anything about the rap song, was there some reciprocity? We won't mess with you if you don't make a big deal about this, and you'll get your budget.
I
just
have never
wonder-
thought about that.
They were very quiet. Mr. McMahon seems very unsteady about his position on the whole rap song thing anyway. But now I think there's a quid pro quo between the OCC and it's DOC.
Do you think it goes to the top?
Of course, it goes to the top.
Well, there you go.
I haven't thought about that, but just what you just
Yeah,
said.
but that's an opinion.
Well, no, it's an opinion, though.
Makes
You're
a lot
not
of
going to be
sense.
able to prove it, but it does have a little
sure
bit
it
of
does.
legitimacy to it.
Nothing would surprise me
Because
of what these guys are capable
If we
of.
go back to the previous year while he was suspended and other things, Glenn Hart always raised a fuss of the school district budget.
Mm-hmm. Yep, sure did.
But not now.
But now that they were real quiet on something that everybody knows about, I just wonder.
I don't know. I just you
It's
bring
a
up some
question
good
to
points.
ask, and I hope that if it is true, that there's some repentance in the future.
There won't ever be any repentance.
But I hope that if there is no repentance, that those people never sleep well at night again.
But here's something that's important that people realize. These guys have been ruling for the last couple of years with intimidation, fear, bullying, or whatever. You're finding out exactly what these guys are made of, they are, the skills that they do not have, the recklessness.
Right. Larry, where was this gun on the school bus today?
In
Was that
Seneca,
no
did you not see that? There was a kid
No.
caught on
With
the
a gun.
Seneca Middle School with a gun on the school bus, and you noticed that.
Was he listening to rap music?
No, he wasn't listening to rap music, but you noticed that they haven't had a conflict of interest about the investigation.
Seneca, the school district of Oconee County said it actively investigated a student accused of bringing a gun on a school bus Monday. The district published the following statement this afternoon. The school district of Oconee received reports yesterday that a middle school student had a gun on a Seneca area bus. A joint and immediate response by Seneca Middle Administration and Oconee County Sheriff's Office occurred. The situation is still actively being investigated by law enforcement and school administrators. The student involved did not attend school today and will not attend until the investigation is complete. And, of course, this is an active investigation, and no other information can be released at this time.
Wait a minute. That kid can't come back to school till the investigation's over. The rap song kids who said they wanted to put 50 rounds out of a blick in the back of Mr. Crawford's head and those awful things about Miss Parker's children got kicked out of school for 3 days.
And did we hear like this? We didn't hear we didn't get
We
information
didn't hear
this quick.
it for months.
Exactly.
Until
Months.
school started back.
Till school started back, because then the
Surprise,
suspension had to be
surprise.
served.
But it didn't. They went on back to school. They didn't
It
get
was a
suspended in the
10-day
new school year.
suspension, but they only served like
3 days.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't know who they are. Those
But you
kids,
know what?
They deserve
Hey,
to be
You,
in
bet,
juvenile.
you wait. This right here,
But
if
you-
it's true, they'll kick him out, suspend him, expel him. They'll expel him.
Or her.
Or her.
But he's just a kid. But he's just a kid doing kid things. That's what the OCC said. It'll be old news by Friday, and nobody needs to worry about it.
Apparently it's not old news, because there's still a lot of people still hot under the collar
Well,
about it.
but if the OCC don't want us to talk about it anymore
Why?
because
We
it's
don't
old
want-
news.
Because
It
they don't
really-
have kids in school.
It didn't affect. It didn't. They do have kids in school, Kathy.
They do.
Yeah.
They
I guess
do
they're not
have
worried
kids
about their
in
kids
school.
being shot.
The treasurer of the OCC's got kids in school. Her husband's a football coach at Walhalla.
Wow.
Guess they're
So-
not worried about their kids being shot.
Jeez. Hey guys.
Well, they're not, hey, you know what? It goes back to this list thing that Chris talked about last show. You know, if you're in the right crowd, you're not on the hit list. And all those OCC kids are probably they go to the same parties their parents do.
Do you want an immature group of people that understand nothing about business and are borrowing and spending money, saying things like, well, we're the true conservatives? That is crazy. It makes no sense. You listen to people like Elliott and Davis. These guys are common sense. You listen to them, they make sense.
They're
These
more
guys-
conservative than anybody else.
But that's a bad word.
I'm more
They're
conservative
more
than those guys
business
are.
focused. You have priorities and you have to make choices. That's what mature leaders do, regardless of whether a Republican, Democrat, Libertarian. It doesn't matter. It matters at the maturity of these people.
But-
these guys it's like giving children the neutron bomb to play with. This is just crazy. And look at what they're doing. The results are in. We're seeing it.
Let me mention a couple of things.
Hey, Luke, they're probably not going to tell you what bus.
Yeah,
Probably not allowed to know.
Let me give you a couple of inside information in just a short bit after we get off the air. there is going to be something that Luke Moore and More to the Story is going to be releasing. And you might want to be keeping your eyes. We will share that on Let's Talk Oconee as soon as Luke does that. That'll be coming up here in just a few moments.
Ooh, that's great.
There is something that Randy and I have just read the text of, and he's going to be releasing that here in just a few moments. Luke is going to be actually doing, hopefully in the coming days or weeks, an interview about another issue that's happening in the school district of Oconee County.
Oh?
Yes. Apparently, teachers are being told that they can no longer ask for items in their classroom. For example, a lot of the teachers did the Amazon wish list, where you could put some stuff that you'd like to have for your classroom. Apparently, it's being told, and they're getting their hands slapped. If they do that, it makes the school district look bad.
Well, here's the thing.
Because they can't, because they're having to buy their own stuff.
Well,
that's the point. But again, they're saying they can't do that. But yet, just a couple of weeks ago, they did a social media for books and asking folks to send money for books. The school district did. Yeah. But yet, the teachers can't do that.
Well, here's the thing.
That's dumb.
The end of the quarter is just happening. The 9 weeks or
they're
whatever
off next week for 1 week.
But there's been a lot of parent-teacher conferences going on here in the last
this week. That's what they're doing this week.
I had one earlier with my child at James Brown. I was a dad that went. There's probably very few dads that go. But while we were in there talking, I asked the teacher. I said, "What are your needs?" And they said tissues and snacks. Because there's free meals at school, but they're still not adequate.
Nope.
And those children, if the only meals they get at school are that's the only meals they get, lunch and breakfast isn't going to be enough to get them through the day.
I know.
So they asked for things, and they asked, they didn't ask us for things, but when I asked them what they needed, those were the needs that they gave us. It was tissues and snacks. And they said, for the love of God, do not send Takis. If you know what Takis are.
Those are the chips, the hot stuff.
They're like Chinese Cheetos.
And you can set them afire and they'll glow.
Right. Well, anyway, don't send them as snacks. Send apples. We live in Oconee County, apple capital of the damn world. Send some apples down there. Send some oranges around Christmas time.
I know teachers that are having to buy their own construction paper for projects, and that's not right.
Well, I told you about the special needs teachers trying to do fundraisers and stuff to get the weighted vests.
But the next thing they need is Sharpies, because political season is coming, and we need to be ready. And we'll have spelling lessons on Let's Talk Oconee, how to say F. Perry Smith. Okay.
It's not a big enough marker.
I did the same thing as you. I asked them what they needed, and it was the same response. They needed Kleenex, but they told me they needed hand sanitizer. So. Yeah.
All right, we need to go ahead and wrap this show up. Again, we thank you tonight for joining us for the first. It worked well, and I think we should do it again next council meeting. What do you think? I like this idea.
Very good.
We got a surprise interview coming up.
Yes, you do. Chris has a bombshell. We won't say who, but Chris does have a bombshell.
I hear it's going to be a media blackout.
It probably will.
It'll take us all the way back to Britannia.
It's not going to be well for the OCC, that's for sure. All right, Chris, final words?
You're seeing the result of exactly what we told you would happen.
Elections have
and
consequences.
It's going to get worse. You need to see it. Immaturity. They don't understand business. They're spending money. It's just words. Conservative. What does it mean? Doesn't mean anything.
Kathy, let me go, Kathy, and I'll come back to you, Randy. Kathy, go ahead.
We told you so.
That's easy and to the point.
Guys. Sorry. Yeah.
Hey, in the words of the most repulsive president that I've ever witnessed in my lifetime, he said, elections have consequences, and we are suffering from them here locally.
Absolutely.
That is it. Don't forget, 30% off.
31 if you ask.
31. Yep.
31.
Southern Steakhouse, Miracle Circle. Go visit them. Go up and see Josh Thomas.
31% if you say I don't need talk time.
And don't forget that other restaurant that's giving free food if you bring your wife and your girlfriend. All
At
right?
the same time.
Yep.
I'm wondering if they're all there right now.
Well,
they could be.
Three Amigos, here we come,
Oh,
baby.
they're at Pub Blue, pounding each other back. You
No,
think so?
they're at the Mexican restaurant
Three
right
Amigos.
now. Three Amigos.
Will we see the pictures?
It's probably
It's
quorum
pictures will be
night
there.
at
We're going to see pictures?
Quorum
never
night
know.
at the Three Amigos.
It's quorum night at the
Look
Three
what we
Amigos.
did.
Wonder what kind of white power signs they'll be throwing.
I have no idea. All right, folks. Sunday night, we're not live.
No.
We're off. However, there will be a special show. He gets the full hour next Sunday, or this coming Sunday
Who
at 7
does?
o'clock. That's Chris Ruin. And the bombshell guest will be with
Chris
him
Ruin.
Sunday at 7 o'clock. It'll be a pre-recorded interview, so I hope that you can tune in and join us. We're going to
Absolutely.
enjoy the weekend off. You're on out of the commission. You're on a special assignment next
I'm on
week.
special assignment. Just remember, Jazzy Chris with 1Z Sunday night.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on Let's Talk OconeeSC.com. Our show's available
Perry
immediately.
What did he say?
Thank you very much.